Last week, we got some pretty awesome news for Bitcoin, guys. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to allow Bitcoin as well as other cryptocurrencies in your 401k, and I think that's a pretty big deal. In this video, I'm going to tell you why. Before I do get into it, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the YouTube. Really appreciate your support. I'm also going to put a QR code down below for a Bitcoin tip. So if you want to support the channel, feel free to leave me a little tip. Now let's get into it. We got the news last Thursday, and the reason that this news is so bullish is because the 401k market here in the United States is huge. We're talking about an $8.7 trillion market. And I also think that this is very important because this is going to allow a lot of people who probably don't have any exposure to Bitcoin to get some exposure, right? Through a vehicle that they trust. When we think about the ways that most people save for the future, one of the main ways is through 401ks. And for some people, maybe people who are a bit older, they may feel more comfortable investing in Bitcoin with their 401k. So I think it's great that some of these people are probably going to be getting recommended Bitcoin by their advisors, and they are going to get, into the game a little bit, because I think that people who don't have any of this are going to be in trouble. And if we think about the 401k market, right, and if we just get a 1% allocation on average across this market into Bitcoin, it's an $8.7 trillion market. 1% would be $87 billion worth of money flowing into Bitcoin through these 401ks. So that's going to be very bullish for the Bitcoin price. And as people start to dabble into Bitcoin, right, as they put 1% in and they see that it outperforms all their other assets in their 401k, they're going to want to up their allocation. So I think that we are going to see a higher percentage and a higher allocation as time goes on. As Bitcoin becomes the norm, we are going to see people wanting to get more exposure to this. You also think about the fact that these assets in 401ks are being locked up for a long time. When people are investing through their 401k, they're investing for retirement. So they're locking up these assets for 20, 30 years, 40 years. And when we think about Bitcoin, this is super bullish. If people are just going to be locking away Bitcoin, taking supply off the market for a long time, that is going to mean good things for the price, right? These are not buyers who are trading Bitcoin. These are going to be buyers who are buying it and holding it. And that's what we want to see with Bitcoin. And I also think that for people holding it through their 401ks, this is going to illustrate the benefit of holding Bitcoin long term, right? And not selling it, not trading it. Really, the best strategy when it comes to Bitcoin is to buy and hold. And with a vehicle like this, that's what you're doing. And I think that this is going to teach people that this is the way to go, right? You want to buy and hold Bitcoin for the long term. Now, of course, as Bitcoin becomes more mainstream and more people start to use it, more people and merchants are going to want to accept it as payment. So naturally, it will turn into more of a medium of exchange, and people will prefer to be paid in Bitcoin. But for now, the move is to buy and hold this asset. Now, one last thing that I want to mention here is that I think the government may be shooting themselves in the leg a little bit here with this executive order. While it's great for Bitcoin and Bitcoin adoption, I think it's really bad for the US Treasury's market and US Treasury bonds, because when we look at 401ks, what's one of the main assets that's held in 401ks? It's US Treasury bonds. And I personally think that Treasury bonds are garbage. We just continue to see the US national debt grow, and we know that the supply is going to keep rising. And as the supply keeps rising, people are going to start wanting these assets less and less. And as people see Bitcoin outperforming Treasury bonds, especially if it's in their 401k and they got a firsthand view of it, they're going to want to up their allocation to Bitcoin, and they're going to want to decrease their allocation to Treasury bonds. That's going to be a big problem for the US government, because they are going to need to continue to issue more and more debt. And if the retirement market isn't looking at government debt as a good asset, and really the rest of the world and the rest of people aren't, and they're just not seeing demand, that is going to lead to bad things. Really, it's going to lead to inflation, as the government is just going to have to come in and buy the debt themselves. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this impacts the US Treasuries market over the next 5 years here. And if we see people adding more Bitcoin to their 401ks and getting rid of their Treasury bonds, because they're garbage. Let's be real. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. I think that this is just another bullish catalyst for Bitcoin, and the fact that Bitcoin is getting introduced to an $8.7 trillion market, I think that you gotta be bullish, right? And we've been seeing some interesting movement with the Bitcoin price recently. It actually just shot up to $124,000 yesterday and fell back down to $118,000 today. I bought the dip because I just continue to see bullish news like this, and I think we're going a lot higher. If you didn't like and subscribe, please make sure to do that now. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon.